think so much of what the bridge is talking about is like using art and design as a vehicle for community engagement or civic engagement, and really think about, okay, what's the role of art in this community? How does art impact the community? So Tactics of Collaboration actually came through a collaboration between the bridge and artist Mark Strandquist. We had this great turnout as a part of the Look 3 Festival of Photograph that kind of kicked off the project, which looked at the artistic process and looked at the ways specifically photographers were engaging community and thinking through how do they work with them to produce an art project. So Tactics of Collaboration was a part of the Seeking the City project over the summer. Kind of created a context or a foundation. And the idea was that Seeking the City was to work with a bunch of youth to use photography to explore the city in a different way.
My role in the Seeking the City workshop was the workshop leader and also the facilitator of Mark's ideas from the Tactics of Collaboration exhibit into the workshop. So originally, when I started thinking about this workshop, I actually spent a fair amount of time talking to Mark and making sure that what I was thinking and what he was thinking were in par and were online. What I felt like the exhibit provided for me was an ethical guideline to make sure that I was engaging the kids into a collaborative process versus a straightforward documentary or a straightforward photo project where they were going to just go photograph their community, bring it back and say, this is my community, versus using the photography as a catalyst to do more collaborative work and civically engaged work within their community. The students naturally selected issues that were interesting to them or important to them through the basic question, what would you change about Charlottesville? What would you change about your city?
What I did this week in the Seeking City workshop was we separated into two different groups. One group was working on parks and the other group was working with the Haven, and I was the group working with the parks, and we just went around the city taking pictures of different parks, trying to compare them to see if my community, West Haven, can be able to get a new upgrade in the parks.
I don't see why they always gotta lock it.
Yeah, like
fence?
in our park too, we had to go all the way around.
Yeah.
Who makes decisions about parks?
Well, I make a lot of them.
So what does the Baby Kids Park have that the Big Kids Park doesn't have? Swings.
They have swings, they have... Once we were done taking our pictures from the parks, we just wrote different information down about how long the parks were there, how much would it cost to buy everything. Then we just made a big poster.
Well, it depends on what park you can do a check minus a check and a check.
That's why I think we just shouldn't do it.
What do you guys think?
They started off the week using some of the Tactics of Collaboration questions. Basically, one of the questions was list 10 assumptions you have about this project, essentially asking them what were the 10 assumptions they had about homeless people. They believed that most homeless people were drug addicted or alcohol addicted, or if you gave them money that they would spend it on drugs or alcohol.
Also, my second favorite part of the week was when we did the interview at the Haven. We learned so much and it was such an eye-opening experience.
How is art or photography, how is using art or photography a more valuable approach than a traditional research model? When you have to take a picture of something, you have to put your body in that place. You have to physically be there, which is going to change your perception.
It made me think a lot about what kind of stories I was telling with the photo. Taking photos of things that maybe the world necessarily doesn't like to see or sort of puts away. For example, homelessness. I know personally, times that I've seen a homeless person, I felt guilty. What could our community do as a whole to sort of address this problem or fix it? And I think that's kind of what this photography workshop has been about, trying to make people think with photos instead of just focusing on the pretty things.
They were changed, their opinions were changed. I think they left with far less assumptions. They left with more truths and more humanity, and I know they felt much more engaged into the topic.
Well, once we're finished, we're going to try to show City Council, and after we show City Council, we're going to see if City Council will be able to help us after we talk to Parks and Recs again.
We're not just training kids to have skills. Teaching skills is really important, but then teaching skills that say something is even more important. How do I actually get a swing installed in my park? And how do I make that happen? But then to think creatively about how do you make that happen and do it in a way that they have some ownership in it. The arts in general provide this really amazing creative process. And I think that's something the Bridge like really firmly believes in, is how do we, as a community, not just artists, but like, you know, artists and residents, how do we use that creativity to kind of create the city we want?